In today's video, I'm discussing the current process of showing homes in the San Francisco Bay Area. As you probably know, we're currently all sheltering in place, but the real estate industry has been deemed an essential service. So you can still buy a house, and the process shouldn't take much longer than it would have before the pandemic started. But now we just have to follow certain rules and guidelines to ensure that we all stay safe and healthy during this time. If you're currently shopping for a home or thinking about starting your home search now because you want a newer and nicer place to shelter in, this video is made for you. So you understand the home search process in 2020. If you like this video, please make sure to support my channel by hitting the like button, the subscribe, and bell icon next to it. It'll help me make more videos like this one, and it'll bring more people to my YouTube channel to watch videos like this. So homes currently get listed into the MLS by a realtor just like they always did. And when it does hit the market, it goes live everywhere and populates all of the portal websites so you can see it through your real estate agent's listing portal or emails that they set you up on, or Redfin, Zillow, Realtor.com, etc. For the time being, there are no open houses and there is no way to physically see a home that's for sale without a real estate agent. Because of this, as a buyer, you should take your time to review the pictures, the property video, the 3D tour, floor plans, and even probably the disclosures before seeing the property in person. Many realtors will do virtual open houses through platforms like Zoom or Google Hangouts as well. If after reviewing all of this stuff, you are interested enough to see the property in person, your agent will schedule a tour with the listing agent. You'll have to sign the Coronavirus Property Entry Advisory and Declaration form. That's a mouthful. Basically, we just call it the PEAD form. So in addition to that, some listing agents and sellers are requesting that you also provide a pre-approval letter from your lender and a proof of funds document that shows you have enough money for the down payment. This is usually something that we present with an offer. But because some homes are occupied with people living in them, many folks want to avoid looky-loos or unqualified buyers from coming to their home and increasing their risks of getting infected. Even if a property is vacant and nobody's living there, your realtor still needs to schedule an appointment to see the place to lower the risk of you running into another group of buyers during the showing. And most showings are scheduled about 1 hour apart from each other just to avoid that potential scenario. When you do arrive at the property for your showing, you must abide by the following rules. Number 1, you wear a protective face mask. 2 is wear gloves. Wash your hands with soap and water often. Many times listing agents or sellers will actually leave soap and water at the home. And number 4 is do not touch surfaces. Usually it's my job as the realtor to come into the property a few minutes early and wipe everything down with a Clorox wipe, open all the doors, turn on all the lights, etc., so that you don't have to touch anything when you come in. You can just walk around and look. Number 5 is you practice social distancing by keeping at least 6 feet between yourself and others. Usually the people I'm showing a home to live together, so that's not necessarily required between them, but I, as the realtor, keep at least 6 feet away from you. Also, it's currently required that only 1 realtor and 2 clients be present for each showing, so a total of 3 people. And then number 6 is after viewing, you discard any disposable gloves, masks, or shoe coverings worn during the visit. I don't know how realistic that is with the reusable masks and the very expensive and rarely available N95 masks, but do your best. Okay, so now I'm going to go over the Coronavirus Property Entry Advisory and Declaration form for visitors. We just refer to this as the PEAD. So this is the document that you must sign for every single time you go to a property and provide this to the listing agent. So I, as the buyer's agent, a buyer calls me and says, hey, Joe, we looked at all of the 3D tours. We looked at the property video. We looked at the disclosures and we want to see this property. Let's set it up. Send them this form with the address on this line of the property that they want to see. And I send it to them via DocuSign, and they can just sign it through their email if you haven't used DocuSign. So I put the address there, and then I send it to the listing agent, and I say, hi, we'd like to see the property tomorrow at 3 p.m. And they say, okay, confirm. Looks good. So let's just go over this form. I'm not going to read the whole thing. A lot of it is fairly commonsensical. I'll just kind of touch on the important points. A couple of things. It just goes over a little bit about coronavirus, risks of exposure. There are government orders of what needs to be done. There are stay-at-home orders limiting activities that can be engaged in by business and members of the public, real estate activities. So under federal and California guidelines, activities required to facilitate a real estate transaction are considered essential activities, and they have been basically from the beginning. We've been able to show homes from the beginning, although it was a lot stricter than it is right now, but we have figured things out. So in addition, some county and city orders are more restrictive than and may take precedence over federal and state guidelines. And this is true, for example, in the San Francisco Bay Area, a lot stricter here than probably the rest of the country, than the federal guidelines, and most of the state as well. Visitor advisory: visitors are advised that if you engage in any activities in violation of any COVID-19 directives, you are acting against the advice of broker. Brokers and agents will comply with COVID-19 directives, notwithstanding any party's instructions, and will obey all fair housing laws while pursuing safe COVID-19 practices. Nothing contained in this form shall be construed to allow any activity that is otherwise prohibited by any law. That's why that's in bold, to protect agents in case you, as the buyer, want to do something against the rules. The purpose of entry is for taking a look at the property, inspecting it. So everybody who enters the property needs to sign this form, including the realtors, buyers, parents of buyers, contractors, inspectors, anybody, photographers. Anybody who's entering the property needs to sign this form, just basically stating that they're going to be following all of the rules, property entrant rules. Protect yourself and assessing your own risks. Washing your hands with soap and water, using hand sanitizer immediately upon entry and before touring or inspecting the property. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. Wear a face covering. Practicing social distancing, at least 6 feet away, as I mentioned. When we're showing properties, I'm 6 feet away from my clients. Avoid touching things throughout the house. So usually I come in early, scrub everything down with a Clorox, wipe everything down, and then open all the doors, turn on all the lights, as is good practice for a real estate agent to do beforehand. It's not just on the TV shows. You should be doing all of that stuff anyway. Sometimes it's tough to get in there before your clients. That I understand, but it happens. Upon exiting the property, discarding any disposable face coverings, disposing of everything. Okay, perfect. There's no brochures and postcards, although there is. I still have been seeing them, but generally you shouldn't be touching things and passing things. That's how viruses spread. So noted. Make sure don't have those. A set of rules for agents and entrants that should be posted at the entrance of the property and are clearly visible and include pictograms. Posted rules for entry. This is the CAR document, PRE, posted rules for entry. So that's usually on most of the doors and windows in the front area of when you enter the property. Has all these rules, has all this information. At signer's representations, you understand that accessing a property for any of the purposes above may be dangerous or unsafe and could expose you or others to COVID-19, and that you are conducting those activities voluntarily. So keep in mind that this is also basically a document that's saying that, if you come into a property and then you happen to be test positive for COVID-19 at a later time, you are kind of signing this document to say you came here voluntarily. By signing this, you are at least lowering the liability that if you did get COVID-19 here at this house somehow, that you are giving away the right to sue them. Accompanying minors, adult signers acknowledge and agree that all property entrant rules, signer acknowledgement, and signer representation apply with the same force and effect to any accompanying minors as they do to signers. Signers responsible for the care, safety, and conduct in the property. Any accompanying minors shall be identified in paragraph 8. So then you print, you sign, you get some initials here, and that's it. And then here's the document that the above document is referring to. So this is the Real Estate Best Practices Guidelines and Prevention Plan for Showings During COVID-19, Stage 2 expansion. So we're in Stage 2 now. They released this 5/22. Check your city or county for more restrictive local shelter-in-place orders. This is put together by CAR, California Association of Realtors, who provides most of the contracts that we use. This is at the state level and may be missing some of the things in the local San Francisco Bay Area that are important, but for the most part, I think this is pretty good. Best practices and guidelines and prevention plan for showings. Basically, this is a document you're going to be initialing and signing and providing to listing agents before entering a property. And this is kind of more of an acknowledgement, disclaimer, disclosure form than anything else. So you don't necessarily have to read this every time, but it's good to know what you're signing because it is 10 pages. Visitors, all persons agree in writing to adhere to the posted rules for entry that are going to be posted there to entering the property, you're going to sign the form. It includes a reference for best practices and guidelines, which we're reading right now. Any person shall provide a declaration to the best of knowledge that they're not currently affected with COVID-19. So by signing this, you're also saying that you don't have it knowingly, haven't within the last 14 days been in contact with someone who has it, you're not experiencing fever, no shortness of breath, no cough, difficulty breathing, or any other COVID-19 symptoms. All persons visiting a property will wash their hands with soap and water. We already mentioned that. Wear protective covering. Definitely that. Practice social distancing, of course, at least 6 feet away. We mentioned that. Avoid touching surfaces. We talked about that. After viewing the dispose of all your stuff. Exercise care to protect yourselves, of course. Follow all the state and local rules. Stay at home. The listing agent will post this on the property. These posted rules for entry will also be available online in the public and MLS listings for sellers. So these are the rules for sellers. So they'll provide best of their knowledge that they don't have it and they have not had it. The seller will inform the broker if there's any change in their health conditions. Sellers should be made expressly aware of the risks of showing. Of course, they need to know the risks if a bunch of strangers are coming into their house and they live there. There's a separate seller PEAD form that they must sign. Sellers should be advised of the responsibilities pertaining to COVID, so they need to keep it clean and make sure they practice safety here. The agreement of the seller allowing any person entering onto the property or into the dwelling should be expressly obtained from the seller. Apart from marketing and pre-marketing activities, standard purchase agreement grants the buyer broad discretion to conduct various inspections and investigations. The seller should be apprised of their obligations under their purchase agreement so that they enter into such agreements with clear understanding of the attendant risks. So what that's saying is that basically if you like the property, you write an offer and then you want to do some inspections or you want to get your contractors in for bids, based on the contracts, the seller is basically obligated to allow you access to the property. Usually the standard is 17 days after entering into contract. Usually there's not a problem with this. It's just they need to understand that and you need to understand those rules. It's the listing agent's job, it's the buyer's agent's job to make sure everything is clean and good and that everybody's doing a good job and following the rules. That's our job. Showing properties, social distancing, arranging showings. No more open houses. So I'm thinking that we're probably not going to have open houses for the rest of 2020. I really don't think so. I don't think we're going to have signs. I don't think we're going to have looky-loos. I don't think we're going to have interested neighbors, nosy neighbors. I don't think we're going to have any of that anymore. I think this is the way that showings are going to work for 2020. And in the San Francisco Bay Area and California, probably beyond. I think even for a big chunk of 2021. That's my personal opinion. Showings should be done virtually whenever possible. Utilize virtual tours in lieu of open houses via digital. Okay, so there's 3D tours, there's videos, there's everything that I mentioned. You have to exhaust all of those as a buyer to see it. Only a single agent and a buying party are to be in a dwelling at the same time during a showing. If other persons are necessary for a showing, they should wait outside or in their vehicles to observe the social distancing guidelines. Of course, if the seller makes it difficult to maintain 6-foot distance for all parties, individuals may need to wait outside. So what I have been doing actually is that I open the door, I turn on all the lights, I clean everything if I'm there before my clients, and I allow them to just go inside, and I kind of keep my distance, maybe even just wait outside for a little bit and just check in on them once every couple of minutes, just say, hey, do you need any questions answered? Do you need me to look at anything? Do you need me to tell you how much it costs to fix that or remodel that or do whatever there? But otherwise, I kind of try to stay out of their way, and I kind of am that way anyway, generally. Show houses with occupants not present when possible. I don't think you should ever show a home to a potential buyer when anybody is there. There's always some kind of extenuating circumstance, or maybe you do need to show somebody a property while somebody's living there or there at that time. But even before any of this started, we should not have been doing that anyway. Agents conducting should meet their clients at the property and not drive the client to the property. Yes, of course. I don't do that. I meet clients at the property, considering limiting in-person to serious potential buyers. So you really need your pre-approval and your proof of funds. As I mentioned, you should have that anyway if you're looking at properties. You need to know what you can afford. Regularly, I get on calls with fresh leads, people who are just starting their search, and they say, hey, we want to see these properties. And I say, okay, great. Well, fantastic. We need to get started on the pre-approval proof of funds. Oh, don't worry about it. I can afford it. No big deal. Don't you worry about it. Well, a pre-approval takes at least a couple of days, and an underwritten approval where a bank will really approve you takes at least a couple of weeks. So let's say I show you a bunch of properties and you really like it and you're like, I want to write an offer on this place. and I say, well, the seller's not going to take your offer seriously because you do not have a pre-approval letter. They're not going to accept your offer. And so by the time you do get your pre-approval letter, this property is already sold, because we still are selling homes in 7 to 14 days, average days on market for most homes that hit the market. Sorry if that's a little aggressive, but that's just the way it goes. So right now you have to do that online, and then when you're ready to start seriously looking at properties to write offers on potentially, then we can start scheduling in-person showings. Discourage anybody who doesn't need to see the property. Let the seller know well in advance that there is an appointment for the showing. Of course, for HOAs, have the seller think of any new rules that may govern all this. Viewing the property, even though the client may have already been afforded real estate, should remind clients to maintain all the rules, all the distancing. Of course, don't touch anything. All persons on the property should avoid touching knobs. Yes, we know that. Real estate must open doorways or other areas. I open all the doorways. I open all that. I even open the closet doors and all that stuff with my little Clorox wipe to make sure that everything looks good. All information must be delivered electronically. Yup, everything is DocuSign or sent via email, PDF. That's the way we're doing it already. So if you were not that way, keeping a little old school, sorry, that time is gone. You have to be online, DocuSign, PDF, like no more physical writing offer. There's a couple of agents in our market who I will not name, but they only accepted wet signature contract for their offers. And I don't know if they can still continue to do that. I don't think so, but to each their own. Nothing against that. I'm just saying I don't think that that's a possibility anymore. So eliminate person-to-person contact for delivery of goods to physical offices. Avoid touching other pending. Yep. Discussions after showing seller or client should be conducted via Zoom, FaceTime, rather in person. Yep. Provision of sanitation products and protocols. So usually I bring sanitizing wipes and hand sanitizer. I have it in my car. It's ready to go. But usually listing agents provide that as a courtesy at the doorway so that we can use that as well. And usually they provide booties for the feet. And everybody nowadays has their own face coverings. Yes, so after I'm done showing the property, I'll do a quick wipe down. Closing and activities outside of showings. Digitally, if feasible, maintain physical distance. However, when in-person meetings are required, so you can do everything electronically except for signing the closing docs with a notary, but that's all done nowadays with social distancing. Notary comes to you, meets you outside, 6 feet away, sign here, Clorox wipes, gloves here, mask here, everything. This is the cleaning, disinfecting protocols. We won't go through all this. I mean, it's probably just, hey, clean everything, and keep everything sanitary and don't touch stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's a little bit more to it than that, but that's basically the thing. We all kind of get it. And if you want a copy of this, let me know and I'll send it your way. You can take a look at it. It doesn't have any personal information on it. This is the blank document. You can take a look. If you want any more information, just let me know. Hey, if you like this video and you want to see more like this, please help support me. Help support the channel. I'll give you a lot more content, a lot more relevant information about our local real estate market, about what's popping in San Mateo County, about everything that you ask and you think is a good idea or you like, because my goal is to provide as much value digitally now and in any way I can as possible. So remember, smash that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification icon next to it. If you're watching this on Facebook, hit like, hit share, like my Facebook page, comment on my stuff, refer me to all your friends, give them my cell phone number and my email address, and all my contact information is everywhere. It's easy to find. Go for it.